We have a great show lined up for you today on Retiring Well. Going to be talking about managing your finances during retirement. Along with that, why getting financial advice is a good idea, and avoid these common investing mistakes. And lastly, volunteer opportunities for seniors. So all this and much more coming up right now on Retiring Well.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
Managing your finances during your retirement years is so vital. It's so important throughout all the years, but especially when it comes to retirement. And we can't stress enough that a sound retirement plan comes down to your cash flow and having a strong income plan. You maybe have saved a lot of money over the years, but if you don't have a plan as far as how you're going to withdraw that money, you could end up in some trouble. So we're looking at this basic 4% withdrawal rule, and I know that's come into question as of late. Is that a sound plan? But for this case, let's use this 4% withdrawal rate. So let's take your retirement savings, and for simple math, let's use $600,000 and use this 4% withdrawal rule. That ultimately equates to $24,000 a year or $2,000 a month as a withdrawal amount from those retirement savings. Now, the worst case scenario when I look at this with 4% ultimately represents 25 years, assuming you have a 0% rate of return. So you're drawing out this 4% for 25 years, if that's in the case where you stuck this money under the mattress and just started taking that out over time. So if you're 65 years old and you set this up, then essentially the money's going to last until you're age 90, again, assuming a 0% rate of return. Of course, that example that I just shared with you doesn't factor in inflation, which is a huge part of your retirement plan, but part of that also you have to consider is with your Social Security. You're going to have a cost of living adjustment with your Social Security, and the other piece is that typically when your statistics show us at age 75 and older, you maybe start cutting back on some of those expenses. Maybe you're not traveling as much or going out to eat as much as you get into your late 70s, 80s, into your 90s. So when talking about income and expenses, there's a couple of nasty words that come up: budget and taxes. These are so vital when you're trying to map out a budget. And I encourage you, if you have things that you enjoy doing in retirement, such as travel, that can be a big part of your overall budget. Make sure you're factoring that into the expenses that you've laid out. Or if you know, I've got to replace the roof on the house and that's a major expense coming up in 5 years, again, plan ahead and start maybe setting some of those additional funds aside in savings. And most of your retirement savings is probably in different retirement accounts, 401k, 403b, IRA. So don't forget about the taxes and what impact that's going to have on your withdrawals. So again, we want you to be confident in your retirement plan, and we encourage you to give us a call and help you plan to retire well.
Those who fail to plan should plan to fail. And so if you haven't planned yet what your retirement income and how your finances are going to work in retirement, hey, give us a call. That's why we're here. We can help you figure that stuff out. You know, I recently ran across a study where this old rule that they would call the 4% rule, which was considered the safe withdrawal rate, was something that should be looked at again. You know, if you have a 60-40 stock bond, portfolio, they went back and they backcast it and they said, is a 4% really a safe withdrawal rate? You know, if you're doing traditional type planning and you don't have maybe a more accurate or up-to-date planning style like we have here at Centennial Wealth Advisory, can you trust the 4% rule? They revised it maybe back to even 2.95% to as high as 3.3% as what the withdrawal rate from your retirement savings could be to make sure that your money lasts as long as you do. So it's one of those things that you need to look at and see and maybe run your numbers. What's a 4% withdrawal rate look like? What's a 4% withdrawal rate look like for your long-term plan? I know, Nick, you do that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we do that almost every day here at Centennial. So, and really everybody's situation is so unique. I have multiple clients where, you know, they have heard about the 4% rule and they're not okay with that, okay? Because in the early years in retirement, they want to spend more of their money. Now, nobody knows how long we're going to live, right? But their expectations for life maybe aren't as long as somebody else. So they're pulling somewhere between 5 and 6% in those first years in retirement. But then understanding later in life, in those slower years, they're not going to be pulling as much, and then maybe they'll get back down into that 3% range of a withdrawal rate. But you got to remember, everybody's situation is so unique, so it's important to make sure that you crunch the numbers, put it all together. Like we have that retirement analyzer software program where we can show you, hey, this is what a 4% withdrawal rate or a 3% withdrawal rate is going to look like over the next 20 years. It's so powerful to see that information. All right, Jack, what do we got coming up next?
Hey, you don't want to miss it. Why getting financial advice is a good idea, and we want you to avoid some common investment mistakes that happen. Stay tuned.
What can Retirement Analyzer do for you? Retirement Analyzer is a software tool that can help you prepare today for your financial future. You've worked hard to save for your retirement, but as you near your retirement, you may have concerns. Have I positioned my retirement savings wisely? Have I saved enough for retirement, and will my savings last throughout my lifetime? What impact could inflation have on my future expenses? What if I suffer a long-term illness? Will I have enough money to cover my medical care expenses and still be able to meet my other financial obligations? Could changes in the income tax rates disrupt my retirement strategy? There's no need to be in the dark as you prepare for your retirement. Retirement Analyzer can help you find answers to all these questions and more. The first step is providing us with information on your financial assets, the type and current value of those assets, as well as your sources of income. Then, we work with you to identify your expected expenses in retirement. This will include a discussion of the lifestyle you envision in retirement, travel, a summer residence, whatever you dream your retirement will be. We'll input the information you provide us into the Retirement Analyzer, and in a very short time we'll have reports that show us the percentage of assets currently in high-risk vehicles as well as the percent in lower-risk products. Retirement Analyzer enables us to project your income from year to year in your retirement and see how long your retirement savings may last. As we change the conditions of the report, delaying your retirement date, including costs for long-term care, adjusting the expected tax rate, or adjusting your retirement strategies, we can see how changes in these variables may impact your income in retirement and the longevity of your retirement savings. Let the Retirement Analyzer help you test drive your retirement strategy today, because the time to discover the bumps in the road is not once your trip through retirement has begun. Contact our office today to schedule an appointment for your Retirement Analyzer review.
If you like watching Retiring Well, make sure to go to youtube.com/retiringwell and click the subscribe button to never miss any of our TV shows and other informative videos.
Let's talk a little bit about why getting financial advice is a good idea. And one of the things that I think of is a little saying I had heard years ago from a dear friend, and he said, "You don't know what you don't know." And in many cases, that's true in not just financial stuff, but in all aspects of life, right? Usually seeking advice, whether it's financial or other professional advice, there's some cost associated with that, right? So there's a value proposition that goes on in your mind. The advice you're getting or services or whatever it may be, that has to be of greater value to you than the cost, right? So one thing that I think of personally is we had bought a house, this was many years ago, and it needed a little bit of work inside, a little bit of remodeling, if you will, and I had to change a couple walls around in the lower level. Well, I thought, well, it can't be that hard. I just need to do this and do that. And then it come to drywall. For any of you that's tried drywall out there, I give all the credit in the world to professional drywallers. I worked on this drywall and mudding and taping for weeks. I got dust everywhere. It's a mess. My wife's upset with me because it's taking forever, and I'm spending every night of the week trying to get this thing just right. And every time I would work on it, I felt like it got worse. And it got worse. And you know, you look down the wall and it's wavy, and you sand and you put another coat on it. Finally, I just got to the point where I was like, okay, I think we're as good as it's gonna get, let's paint the thing. Well, boy, then you can see really how bad it is after you paint it, right? So me, thinking I could have handled this, I should have sought professional advice, because for the next 3 or 4 years, I had to look at this wall, and every time I looked at it, it reminded me of that bad situation, right? So like with financial stuff, don't be looking at your portfolio with regret later on, right? You know, seek out that advice, and advice is different from every person. Don't think advice that maybe your neighbor or friend or buddy's got is the same advice that is appropriate for you. We want to help avoid emotional decisions, help making sure your goal's focused, and that you're not just focusing on one thing. Just like when I did that drywall project, there was a lot of pieces and probably some important prep steps that I missed. Just like with retirement planning, there's different pieces that all go together. Income planning, investment planning, tax planning, estate, health insurance, legacy, all these different aspects that you don't want to overlook. One piece, even if you do the rest pretty good, one missed piece can be a disaster to the overall plan. So why seek professional advice, and why get maybe a second opinion? Why not? Why not just get a second opinion? See what you have going, see how it matches up with those goals and objectives, and see if there's something that you can learn while going through that process to put you in a better situation to have a higher probability of success so you can plan to retire well.
The biggest concerns that clients have when they come to see us is usually the fear of the unknown. When they're heading into retirement, there is so many uncertainties that they're going to face, not only financially, but with time, with insurances, with taxes.
You figure you've got one chance to do it, and you better do it right.
With that fear of unknown, they're looking for somebody to walk alongside them in this journey and to guide them along the way.
Retirement's like 20 to 30 years of unemployment, so you need to have a plan in place to generate that income.
We can help eliminate some of those unknowns and give them the confidence that they're going to be able to succeed in the goals they want to do in retirement.
We want you to have your finances in order so that that's more of an afterthought, more of something that you say, well, that's what our team at Centennial Wealth Advisory is there to take care of.
Too often, our industry focuses on the tools that are available in mutual funds and stocks and bonds, and oftentimes the industry wants to start with a product. We believe here that you should focus on the individual's goals first. What do you want to do in retirement? What does that look like to you? Then what strategies do we need to implement to make those goals become a reality?
So often we find that our clients love spending time with their family, with their grandchildren. Here in northern Michigan, people love to be outside and enjoy kayaking or biking or hiking in the warmer months, sometimes in the winter months as well, out snowshoeing. Our hope at Centennial Wealth Advisory is to help you open up those opportunities to go and enjoy your retirement.
As a financial advisor, it's not just my job to manage just your money. It's my job to understand who you are as a person, your personal relationships, your aspirations and goals, and so I can help create a plan that ties your financial future with your personal future and all those goals.
You want to retire, you get one opportunity to retire, and you want to do it right the first time. Our role here at Centennial Wealth Advisory is to help walk you through that entire process and ultimately help you plan to retire well. I'd like to share with you some common investing mistakes that might be helpful for you as you plan for retirement or are in retirement. And some of these may seem a little bit basic, but could be a good refresher for you. So let's start with keeping an adequate amount in emergency savings types of accounts. So this might be 3 to 6 months of expenses set aside in cash, which currently with interest rates having come up, hopefully you can get a little bit of interest on that savings and everything, but set that money aside knowing that it's there for you as needed. The second might be starting to save when you're young. That compounding effect of the money being saved early on can be so valuable. And if you have children or grandchildren that you know haven't started, maybe you could help give them a little kickstart and help fund something to get the ball rolling there. Third, what about increasing your retirement contributions over time? There's certain limitations on what you can contribute, and I know in those early years you might be trying to make things work within your budget, but setting aside a little bit extra year after year to help build can be so valuable. Fourth, diversify your portfolio. So don't rely just on one or two of your favorite stocks. One of those, we look at as an example in 2022, if you're on Facebook, you've seen the Meta stock and everything. Well, that saw nearly a 70% decline in 2022. So you want to be careful with just individual stocks for that diversification factor. Another is don't chase performance. Investments are going to change over time, and so you want to be not going after those that you think are going to be the huge win, because as we've seen in a lot of cases, those don't always end up that way. Another is trying to time the market. It's sort of a fool's errand. You want to create a long-term plan for your investments. Be careful of taking financial advice from friends and colleagues. You always hear their success stories, but you don't always hear about their failures. So careful of that. Along with that, recognize your appetite for risk. You don't want to just focus on the potential for reward and those big returns. You want to be aware of when things don't go so well in the market, where is that comfort level for you? You want to pay attention to taxes and diversify your portfolio amongst different taxable assets, maybe tax deferred, and then tax-free assets. That's going to create so many more opportunities for you in retirement as far as where to draw money from. And don't be a DIY investor if you're not comfortable and confident. You may want to seek professional advice to help walk you through all those important areas of your retirement plan. At Centennial Wealth Advisory, we look at all of that with you and make sure that you have a comfortable and confident plan to help you plan to retire well.
What a great segment there on the importance of getting sound financial advice from a professional. And when I think of this, it kind of takes me back to my golfing days, where you'd be out on the golf course and you got your buddy who's struggling out on the golf course, and the other buddy's saying, hey, you should do this or you should do that or whatnot. But that's not the time and place to be getting advice from your friend who has probably no idea what they're doing as well, all right? So that's why it's so important to make sure that you meet with a financial advisor, somebody that does this for a living. Just like out on the golf course, you could go get a lesson from a golf pro. You want to meet with somebody that knows how to manage money, and that's us. That's what we do here at Centennial Wealth Advisory. Jack, you got a couple examples of that as well.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough situation right here, because we kind of are the sage on the stage, and that can be helpful sometimes, but when we get to be the guide on the side, that's where it really becomes helpful to our clients. People will ask me all the time, hey Jack, what do you do? And I usually start with, I'm a financial organizer, or sometimes I'll go to, think of yourself going to a beautiful buffet, and you have all of the options. I kind of consider what we get to do as being the dietitian, okay? How do we create a healthy plan for you? Is going right to the ice cream and getting all the sprinkles on top so you can scarf them all down, is that what is fun? Yes. But is that what's best for you? Probably not. And using that analogy, sometimes people will say, I want all kinds of risk. And we might say, do you need the risk? Or they'll say, I want to be so safe, I don't want any risk. Well, what is the risk in not taking any risk? And by that example, we get to help guide them through all the different parts of a really healthy financial plan, and we get to organize it. And so if you're sitting there and you're feeling uncomfortable uncomfortable about your buffet choices, as the analogy I'm using there, you feel like you're being slighted or you don't have enough options or you don't understand why they might be helpful or why they might be unhelpful to you, please feel free to give us an opportunity to sit down and start that dialogue with you. Hey, stay tuned. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about volunteer opportunities for seniors. You don't want to miss it.
Living life isn't always easy. It puts up challenges and obstacles you'll have to overcome. There are responsibilities. You put in effort to provide and take care of your family, to save and invest, to balance work and life. Planning is the first step to succeeding. Plan to retire well.
Your grandchildren are precious to you. They are your life. This is your time to have that special relationship. Taking care of yourself is taking care of them. Centennial Wealth Advisory is offering a free, no-obligation retirement review to make sure you don't run out of money during your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
As we've talked about in past shows, finding purpose in your retirement. What good is money if you don't have your health and you don't have that purpose in life, right? So one of the things that we find interesting is all of our clients and all the volunteer work that they do across the area and beyond. So we wanted to share a little bit of that and kind of talk about some of that and also maybe some of the benefits that could offer, not only personally, but maybe even financially to you. So one of the things that we always encourage when people kind of approach us and they start thinking about this and they're asking questions to us about it is, find an organization that's meaningful to you, that's going to give you that purpose, right? If you're passionate about animals, let's say, well, go volunteer at an animal shelter or some rescue or something like that. If you're passionate about the homeless or veterans or something like that, there's so many organizations out there to help in those situations. There's so many different levels too that are needed out there. No matter what your skill level is of that particular group or area, no matter what your time availability may be, whether it's a great or just a few hours a week, they likely can find a spot for you. There's just like even in the labor market today, right? There's needs out there for these volunteer things. I think of some of our clients and all the amazing things that they do. One of our clients, he volunteers and coaches a youth softball team here locally in Traverse City in the summers. And I think it's so great, that he grew up around his daughters having that, and now he's giving back his experience to the local youth and coaching that and allowing other parents to enjoy watching their children. Another thing that we have a couple that's deeply involved, numerous couples actually, that are deeply involved in food pantries. Whether it be here in Traverse City or Leelanau County or Benzie County, there's so many different needs for that, and they're involved in not only raising funds and getting donations, but also the organization and their person. There's so much more that goes on with these things than just collecting food and giving it back out, right? So keep that in mind. It's so neat to see people have these traits that you've learned over the years, or maybe hobbies and stuff like that. Another client, he helps with some of these building missions out there where they go and repair, let's say, a broken doorknob or leaky faucet or broken step or something like that. And they go out for those in need that maybe don't have the resources or know-how to repair these items at no cost through donations and stuff like that. So again, such a great thing to be able to do that. So financially, is there any benefit to you for this?
IRS? Well, they don't allow you, or the IRS doesn't allow you, to deduct your time. So that's a volunteer thing, and there's not really a valuation they can put on the time. But you can deduct charitable mileage or out-of-pocket expenses that you incur for that charitable act. So maybe you're traveling somewhere and there was an overnight stay, or maybe there's some expense that you donated. Keep that. Now, keep in mind, though, talk to your tax professional, because depending upon your circumstance, as an example, if you don't even itemize, it might not matter if you're just taking a standard deduction. So again, it might not pertain to you, but look into some of these things. But obviously, the main reason why most folks are doing this is not for the tax advantage. They're doing that to help their community and make an impact that goes far beyond the financial aspect, and just that great power of knowing you're giving back and having that gratitude for all the blessings that you've had. So if you have any question about volunteering or how that may affect or benefit you, give us a call. We'd love to walk through with you and help you plan to retire well.
I got a one-liner for you. Find a need, fill a need. One of the things that you get to do in retirement is you have more time. And I'm going to run through 3 programs that I saw when I was teaching at McBain High School, where I thought volunteers were instrumental in changing lives. One of them was a mentoring program where volunteers would come in and they would meet with one student, one at-risk student, every single week for the whole school year, and they built a deep, trusting relationship. They helped do what other members of the community, teachers and bus drivers, that we didn't get to do. They got to be one-on-one or in a group setting where they could really help these kids with whatever it is that they were struggling at life. Another one was packing backpacks, the backpack program, where they're filling it with food and different essentials just to cover the weekend. When these at-risk kids would go home and they wouldn't have food or supplies or things, they would get sent with a backpack. And the last one is called Rambler Dads, where they just send in a male figure into the school and for the day, and they just get to go around brightening, those kids' days. 3 great opportunities to help give back, when they have time. And some other ones that I've seen would be at the local church, where the Wednesday night programs, where these volunteers are going and they're helping these kids build things, or they learn things, or just have a time in their week where the parents can step back and have some rest from all the energy that kids have. I've watched those volunteers give a lot of time, do a lot of planning for an hour or an hour and a half of controlled chaos, we might call it, but then I get to see later on what kind of impact that those volunteers had on those kids. When I was teaching high school, I would ask frequently, hey, who has made a huge impact in your life? And what came up, that person at church, or that coach, or that person in the community that they could just go and connect with, and they could just vent to, and they could figure out life from people that were 1 or 2 generations removed from them. And so if you're sitting there and you have time on your hands and you're looking for volunteer options, I don't think you have to look very far to find many.
Yeah, those are some great examples there, Jack, of getting out there and volunteering and finding a purpose in retirement. I hope you found this information valuable today in this segment. Please don't forget, you can check us out on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/retiringwell, and we've got a bunch more episodes and a lot of great information that I highly encourage you to check out. All right, well, don't forget to tune in next week, same time, same station. Take care.